Hi, I'm Brandon Poe, founder of Poe Group Advisors and creator of the Accounting Practice Academy. You are listening to the Accountant's Flight Plan podcast, where we talk about stuff in the accounting world. If you're looking to buy or sell a practice, we are the premier accounting practice intermediary firm in the industry. Check us out at pogroupadvisors.com. If you're a firm owner looking to build a more profitable practice while actually reducing owner hours, sign up for our practice management workshop, which only runs a few times per year. Learn more at accountingpracticeacademy.com. Today I am with Wayne Findlay, and before I introduce him, for anybody who's watching this on the video, there above his left shoulder is a picture of Buzz Lightyear, and we had a prior conversation about this, and it's just really cool. So Wayne, tell me about the Buzz Lightyear picture on your wall there.
Yeah. Well, Buzz Lightyear, to infinity and beyond. So that's a bit like a mantra that I have. We did a bit of marketing when we were doing our accounting firm, and it's sort of flowed on from there.
Nice. I love it. Well, so that gives a perfect segue into what you're doing, because you're doing something that's very cutting edge. You're the founder and director of both the Back Room and Findlay and Company Chartered Accountants in New Zealand. Wayne's transformed his vision from a local accounting firm to a global business for accountants. That's the cutting edge part. We're excited to speak with you today and learn about your path to increasing your capacity and your process for outsourcing. So to start, let's just let our audience get to know you a little better. Tell us a little bit about yourself and just how you got into accounting.
Well, Brandon, I'm born in New Zealand, so and at the bottom of New Zealand, so at a place called Tuatapere. It's a great Maori name, and we're right at the bottom of New Zealand, so we're close to Antarctica.
Wow.
Well, one of the closer places in the world. So we used to joke that we could see icebergs float by, but there actually was one float by one year. So it can happen. Yeah. But I was brought up on a farm in the deep south. And, when you got to that age when you're at school, secondary school, my father said, what are you going to do, son? And it was either farming or, in those days, banking or accounting. You didn't really have a lot of choice. And so I chose accounting. So I went down that route, and haven't looked back really. It's been a good journey. Yeah.
Nice. You say deep south. That means a little something different to us in the U.S.
Yeah, I know that. Yeah, we have the same thing. We all talk differently in the deep south. We have a rolling of our R's, so you'll hear that quite a bit. Yeah,
okay.
A distinct accent.
Yeah, it's interesting how, it makes sense, but different places in different countries, there's a different accent. I lived in England when I was a kid growing up in the northern part of England. And boy, the accent changes really quick. You go for a 2-hour car ride, and it sounds a lot.
Oh, yeah, the north of England. Yeah, a lot different.
Well, now what's interesting is you had the accounting firm.
Yep.
Modernized it. You were a Xero firm. Tell us a little bit about your history and your journey with Xero.
Yeah, we got involved with Xero. Like when we set up the accounting firm, it was me and my brother Scott. We got going, in the early 2000s, and we were quite tech savvy. We were always early adopters of technology, and then one day we had one of these Xero guys turn up on our doorstep, and so that was just when they got going, and it was one of the founders. So, and he was talking about Xero, and we thought, this makes sense. We were not completely in the cloud, but we were thinking of going that way, and I liked the idea of that single ledger where the client, the accountant, they sort of work together, and you manipulate the data rather than process data. So that struck a tune with me. And so we got on board with Xero early on.
Now let me stop you there. So tell me that what is the difference you just mentioned about?
Yep.
Yeah, tell me about
Well,
that.
well, back then you would have different types of accounting software that clients use, and then the accounting firm would have completely different software that they would use to
I got
do the
you.
year-end accounting. So we would get their data and have to transfer it onto our system, and that took time and manipulation, trying to change things.
Yeah,
But
I got
having it all in one place was great.
you.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, it's been so long since anyone's kind of done that. Like even, if you're most firms here are QuickBooks firms and
Yeah.
you're still working with the client data now. So, okay. Sorry, I
Yeah.
didn't mean to diverge there. I just didn't quite understand. Okay.
No, go for
Um,
it. Yeah.
well, that's cool. You got to meet the founder. Like you were with Xero at the very beginning. And
Yeah. And we built up our firm based on Xero. So we became known as the Xero guys around our region. So we did a lot of workshops. We did seminars. We put out a lot of material to our clients, in training about Xero, and that helped us grow as a practice. So we would get a lot of clients come to us because we were the Xero guys,
yeah.
which helped.
Um, and then fast forward to now, you're
Yeah.
doing the back room. How did that come about?
Well, that was sort of a natural sort of evolution, I suppose, of the accounting firm. We got to completely cloud, so we didn't have any servers. That was a yeehaw moment when we could throw that server out the door. And we had about 25 staff. This was probably 2 years ago, of which 5 we had in an offshore team. And so we could see the benefit of going offshore. Where I live is a mountainous sort of resort town called Wanaka. It's a lovely, lovely place, but always struggled to hang on to accountants. They'd come and go. So we wanted to be able to have, I suppose, more dedicated people longer. So we got an offshore team going, and there was real benefits in that. And then we grew the back room off that. Basically, we sold the accounting firm, and and took on the outsourcing business and been growing that.
Right. Now, is that most of the reason that people start looking at offshoring and outsourcing? Or there are other reasons that you find people are doing it?
Well, I think there's a variety of reasons why you want to offshore. I forget where I heard it, but I talk about the 3 freedoms. You can have cash flow freedom, but then you want time freedom and mind freedom. Less stress. And I think we were getting the cash flow, but we were working huge hours, and that meant we were stressed out. So we wanted to change that. So the only way to leverage yourself is to create capacity. So we got our offshore team doing a lot of our what we call compliance, your low level type accounting work, and that then freed up our accountants and senior managers to do more client facing work and some of the what we would call business advisory work. And then up the pyramid, that left me and Scott free to do the good stuff, we would call it, or and we had more time, and that was great.
Yeah. You were focused on where you could provide the most value, and all the other stuff you let someone else handle.
Yeah, well, I think that's a win-win, because you want to pay your staff well, but you want to get a return from what they're doing. So if you're getting them doing low type accounting type work, you're not going to get the best return out of them. They want to do the better stuff.
Right.
And so we just delegated, effectively, I suppose, and got them to do that.
Now, tell us, why would someone want to use the back room? Why not?
Yeah, well, we're accountants,
Yeah.
so we know accountants, and bookkeepers. We had a bookkeeping firm as well. We know how accountants think, and we know how to manage the team that we have in the Philippines. We've focused a lot on training in Clark. That's where we're based in the Philippines. So we have a huge emphasis on training. So we've created this online training portal where our staff go through, and they go through the different sorts of trainings, whereby it might be software like Xero or QuickBooks or Bill.com, through to accounting and tax type stuff we're building up as well. And each of these modules has a quiz, so we can continually test the staff and make sure that they know the stuff, and if there's gaps, we can look after them. So training's a big thing for us. Then security obviously is a major one. You've got to have top-notch security when you're dealing with client data.
Yeah.
And so we went through like a SOC 2 type test to get our data and our systems all tested, and that meant having world-class sort of security at the back room. And things like, geez, it's like Fort Knox trying to get into the office there. The security guards, CCTV, you're not allowed cell phones in the building. Just stuff you would not have in your own accounting firm. We didn't have it in New Zealand, but over there, that's what you do. It's just it's a different world when it comes to security.
Yeah.
The other things, people, I was going to mention that, Brandon, is getting good staff and hanging on to good staff over there. So in the Philippines.
Yeah, I was just going to ask you about like turnover rates.
Yeah.
I have heard, I've had a couple of firms. We sold a firm in Calgary, Alberta, a couple of years ago that had set up an outsourcing in the Philippines, and they were very complimentary about it. They said that they didn't have the employee turnover. They had the same people for a while. So I was going to ask you if turnover's been pretty good.
Yeah, retention rates are, I think it can be a problem in the industry, but for us, we're in the high 90s as far as staff retention. That's 3 years, we've got close to 150 staff there now.
Wow.
And so, our retention rates, and we put it down to one, where all our staff are accountants or in the accounting industry. So they're all like-minded. They've all been through university. They're quite young, and they're social. We've got like a world-class building that they work in, Brennan. It's just we'd compare it to one of the better buildings in New Zealand. It's a nice building, great atmosphere, and transport's a big thing. So it's easy to get to and from. And we pay them well. We pay well, like compared to working in a Filipino business, they could be working huge hours where they work less hours and they get a good work-life balance. So that's a big thing.
Now, what can be offshored in an accounting firm?
Well, there's lots of stuff you can do. Bookkeeping's an easy one. If you've got bookkeepers, you can get that done offshore, whether that's on Xero or on QuickBooks. All your accounting functions, your compliance, year end, tax. We've got some people doing tax now for US. You can do virtual assistants, so quite a big thing. There's one firm we deal with, and we're getting a lot of VAs for their partners. And that's, when I talked about those 3 freedoms, that's one of those big things you could do, is get yourself a VA to free up a bit of your own capacity. And then we have marketing people, sales people doing lead generation. That works really well over there. One thing we're getting a few of too is what we call CSAs, or client service assistants. So they're like your admin type people tied in with the accounting firm, and they manage the workflow, the flow of information in and out of the accounting firm. That's becoming quite a good thing to do offshore as well.
Oh, nice. Okay. Yeah, I've got some personal experience with a VA. I'm president of EO Charleston, and EO created this pilot program where they supply chapters a VA, but we sort of we don't have a full-time VA. The VA is divided between 4 different chapters, so
Yeah.
get kind of a I don't know what you call that, but do you have arrangements that too, like it's part-time? And
Yeah, like a VA, I think you need a VA to be able to do 2 things. It's going to be your VA to manage your diary and your own calendar and email, but there's going to be times when you're away or downtime, so you need your VA to be able to fill gaps. And so that could be a VA that does bookkeeping, for instance, or admin assistance, or it could be a VA that does sales and lead gen for you as well. So that's what we find with our VAs, is they always have a string attached to them that they can do something else, and that's quite useful.
Yeah, I can see that definitely with the marketing. Have a VA. And
social media, a lot of your newsletters, or lead gen's good, creating lists to follow up on. And
tell me about prepping.
Oh yeah, so the way our outsourcing model worked was you have your own dedicated team. So it's what we call an offshoring model. So we talking full-time people. So it's something Scott and I developed when we were accounting, was because we had that client data at our fingertips. So not like you'd have to go to the client to get the data in. We had it because it was in Xero, and now you got QuickBooks Online, so you can really go in and get it. So we would start the year-end process when we wanted, not when the client wanted, when we wanted, and that was typically early. So we would go in. We were a March balance date, so we would be into the client data in April, May, and working through the work papers. And you can do a lot of stuff without getting the client, all your bank reconciliations you can do, and then you check it against your bank statement, fixed assets, payroll, loan reconciliations. We in New Zealand, we could do close to, we thought 60 to 70% of the job just without getting the client information. We had it all there at our fingertips. So prepping was that process. We would go through and prep a file and do all the work papers that we could. And when we were doing the work papers, we completed a questionnaire of what was missing. And that was the key. We would then go to the client with this questionnaire and say, look, we need an invoice for this truck you've bought, or we see you've got a new loan. Can you send us the details? Or, quite specific questions. And because they were specific questions, we would get good answers. And that was a thing with accountants, is you'd send out a generic type questionnaire, and the clients were hopeless at filling it out. Because it's generic, a lot of it didn't mean much to them. So our turnaround, which in the accounting industry is a big thing, was, after we prepped a file, our turnaround was getting around 10 days, 11 days. We would turn the file around. So then that just helped things like, margins, your workflow, big improvements right throughout.
Yeah.
And the cool thing, Brandon, was we were getting grads. That's what we got, grads to do it all. Because it was just systemized. We had a process, they followed it, and the grads would pick that up. And then, after a couple of months, they were, we would call it close to drafting financials, and they were learning lots, because it's all about systems nowadays and how they flow together. And then the accounting knowledge would come. It was a great training.
It sounds like you've got everything processed out in a very detailed fashion. So
Yeah.
if somebody signed on the back room, they're not just getting the person, but they're getting all those systems and processes that you've already developed to kind of make everything efficient.
That's right. Yeah, that's one of the things, like our training team, Ed and Migs, that's what they share that. Some firms want to do it, but some have their own systems. But we think this is a good way to go to get your staff trained up well, and we saw the rewards, through workflow going, down to 10 days turnaround and getting good margins.
Yeah.
Definitely help.
Have you seen any clients like, that come in and they operate a tax practice and they go, you know what, we like the bookkeeping idea, and they just sort of build a division with backroom's help?
Yeah, we've talked to them because, some guys, in the US, there's distinct, isn't there, between tax and accounting, your bookkeeping. And so some of the tax guys we've been talking to have said, look, we normally just outsource that locally, like to someone else in the US to do all that bookkeeping and accounting. And now they're thinking, well, let's just set something offshore and we'll do it ourselves. We can build that right through.
Yeah, makes sense.
Yeah.
So moving on to kind of like a broader questions here.
Yeah.
What do you consider to be the most serious threat facing the profession right now? And how do you think it should be addressed by individual firms?
Well, if we were talking pre-COVID, it was retention and recruitment of staff, accountants. That was a worldwide problem.
Yeah.
To get good quality people in your firm has always been a problem, and to manage staff, you've got more competitors in the market. It's so easy now to set yourself up as an accountant or a bookkeeper. You just need a laptop and a cell phone. Everything's cloud-based, so it's relatively cheap to get into the industry. So there's a lot more competitors. So that's putting, your margins are reducing. There's more competitors. Prices are expected to go down. So reducing margins is an issue. Then you've got higher wage costs. So it's getting a bit of a squeeze. So that's why, that's one of the things that we thought we were a good solution to is getting some of that basic compliance done offshore. Post-COVID, there's a lot of unemployment, but I think those issues are going to come back in a year once we get through the recovery.
I think COVID's going to expedite all of this. Like, I think COVID is going to take the direction that the accounting industry was going in pre-COVID. Somebody just hit the gas pedal. No, it might not go accelerate immediately, but it's going to accelerate. And what I'm specifically talking about is what you're saying is your compliance work is going to get more automated. There's going to be price pressure on it. The really successful accountants are going to need to be focused on the high level work, the advisory, and really more of the client high value, what the client values.
Yeah. You want that stickability with the client, don't you? Your trusted advisor. Mm-hmm. And the modern accountants, we call them modern, the ones that are doing client-facing value-add type work have got that stickability. Your traditional accountants that may be just doing your compliance and year-end accounting, bit of tax, they may lose that stickability with COVID unless they get in there in front of clients and are really helping them out. With some business advisory.
And people that listen to my podcast, you've heard me say it, like probably you're probably tired of hearing it, but I don't see anything. I don't see firms really. I see so many firms not making that shift. And I think the reason they don't make the shift is because they're too busy. It's inertia, right? They're just so busy. It's hard to stop and change.
It is. Change is hard, and some may think it's hard doing this business advisory, but what accountants expect and what clients want, there's a big gap.
Yep.
The clients don't want too much.
Right. It's not that hard. We're making it harder than it needs to be.
I think you're right. It doesn't need to be hard.
It doesn't have to be hard. Actually, it's better, if you can make it easy, it's better.
Yeah, that's right. Talk to their level. Clients, sometimes they can't understand financials. Yeah. It's just helping them understand their financials.
Yeah.
Give them a decent cash flow.
Well, with every threat, there's always a bunch of opportunity. You're a perfect example of that because you've started a firm, an outsourcing firm that takes advantage of kind of, this sort of threat. So what do you see as the big opportunities for the profession, especially like post-COVID? What do you see?
Well, post-COVID right now, I think doing that business advisory at a basic level, I think would be a real opportunity. I think it doesn't need to be a lot. Maybe it's just having the odd workshop with clients and you get them in a small group. We used to have lots of workshops in our boardroom, which only sat maybe 15 at a push. Smaller groups work well. Just get your clients in and get them talking to each other, and then you sit there and moderate, and you'll get a lot of work out of it. Have a theme. It might be understanding financials, or it might be a new software, or it might be how to do a cash flow, or what you need. There's a lot of tools out there now that have all that there that you can have at hand. So getting that will give stickability to your clients, and you'll get known.
Yeah, that's a great idea. Just have almost like create a mastermind. Now, would you do these with the same people, keep them so where they got to know each other, or just kind of like one-off workshops?
Yeah, well, we did a lot of workshops, and we did them around Xero, around training on Xero, and we would have the same group come back for like 5 weeks in a row and going from step 1 to step 5 sort of thing.
Okay.
Then we would do some workshops on, there was 7 ways to grow your business, and that was over a series as well. And these are all resources that we could get a hold of as accountants. Everyone knows there's stuff out there that you can get a hold of. It's just using it.
Yeah.
And the cool thing was with Xero, if you go down the Xero track, they'll pay for it. They have a marketing fund. Nice. We used to use Xero because for a start, we weren't that confident to do it ourselves. So we would get Xero to come in, and their regional person came in and helped run the workshop. So that was really good.
Oh, yeah. Nice. All right. So I'm kind of getting to the end of my list of questions here. I got 2 more. So real quick, 1 book to our listeners. What would you recommend?
Oh, I think I like Tim Ferriss.
Oh, yeah.
His 4-hour week.
Yeah.
I remember reading that and I thought, man, this guy makes sense. You never got to get a 4-hour week, but you can always try to achieve that. And some of the, what he talked about was, outsourcing, I suppose, but that made sense to me. And that's probably why we did what we did, actually. But just having more time to yourself. And, I don't know if I'm living the dream, but that's one of my mantras is trying to, get a good work-life balance and spend time, doing things that you love. So
that's one of our main themes in Accounting Practice Academy that I see so many accountants just put in way too many hours. Way too many. And it's
bad for your health.
It's bad. And it's bad for your business. That's the thing that's sort of like the mental shift that we like to see happen is like, oh, you don't have to work that hard. And guess what? It's good for your business. It's actually good.
Well, the old, what was it? Productivity was your biggest measure of how good you were, is how many hours you could punch out.
Yeah.
We took away timesheets. We didn't think that was a good way to do it. So we just work on margins, gross profit. Yeah.
Yeah. The stuff that really matters.
It is. It does.
And it's good for the client too. Like, that's the other thing. Like, if you're thinking about, okay, how do I get my margin up? What you're really thinking of is, what can I do for the client that's going to be valuable?
Yeah. Well, Brandon, too, when you go to sell something, if it's all revolving around you doing a lot of work, you're not going to get good multiples, are you?
No.
So if the business is less reliant, that's what we tell our clients when you succession plan. Try to make the business not revolve around you, but around your systems. Then you'll get a better multiple.
Right.
And that applies to accounting firms.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No question. All right. Last question is, what's one bit of advice, guidance, or life lesson you'd like to share with our listeners?
Well, it's another one of those corny type of things that I live by. I read a lot, but I think don't be scared to give things a go. A change can be hard, but don't be scared. And I used to have written on my wall, D times A equals R. Decisions, D times A equals R. Decisions times actions equals results.
Yep.
Now, you may get bad results, but you learn from those. And you learn from your good and your bad. But don't be afraid. A lot of people can think of stuff to do, but do they act on it? So it's something that
stagnation is the worst. You just got to start. You just got to get started somewhere.
Yeah.
Stagnation is the worst. So Wayne, how is the best way for people to follow and connect with you?
Probably on LinkedIn would be, I think I'm in there, I'm not sure, but I think my profile's Wayne NZ. but I could send you the details, but either that or my email through wayne@thebackroomop.com.
Okay.
Yeah.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Awesome. Good stuff, man. This is, you're right there on the cutting edge. And outshoring, I think a lot of U.S. firms have, I don't know, and had a little bit of a negative impression about it, to be quite honest. Like, it's not something people have embraced, but I think,
well, if you think about it, Brandon, like people are sort of doing it now because of COVID, aren't they?
Yeah.
You can't work from home, so you've distributed your business, your firm across homes.
Yeah.
All we're doing is just taking it a little step further, where you take it over to the Philippines.
Yeah.
And they're just great people. They make great accountants. So it's a good place to be. Yeah.
All right. Good stuff, man. Thank you.
Yeah. Hey, thanks for having me, Brandon.
Thanks for listening to the Accountant's Flight Plan podcast. If you like what you heard today, please follow us so that you can get updates when new episodes are released, and share our podcast with your friends and colleagues. You can also follow Poe Group Advisors on social media. Please visit our website for more information at pogroupadvisors.com.